की हिंदू मुस्लिम क्रिश्चियन అందరివాడు అందేవాడు అందరినీ ఆకర్షించేవాడు మేడం గారు కూడా వేదిక మీదకి రావాల్సిందిగా ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం. అన్నగారు మరి ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి అదేవిధంగా మన అన్నపూర్ణ మేడం గారిని కూడా వేదిక మీదకి రావాల్సిందిగా సగౌరవంగా ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం.
All of you, and first of all I would like to congratulate all the award winners who has been graciously where the award winners, for the AASOKA group who are graciously come forward to award and reward the educators who have been putting their heart and soul into our education to ensure that the next generation is going to be future leaders. Now, since I am talking to all the leaders here, I just want to talk about a few things. First of all, we are okay. Okay. So first of all, we are talking about bringing up children. Now, today we are all in the students who are with us are all our 21st century learners. They are all in the 21st century children. And terms like competency-based education and 21st century skills, the 4 C's have all become the buzzwords. But how are the children? Are they ready to take it? Dr. Ken Robinson has done a study here which I would like to share. Now, what is the study that he has done? This is a study done by him almost 50 years ago. And I hope you've all heard about Dr. Ken Robinson. He was the creative director in the Ministry of Education in UK. Now, what did he do? Almost 50 years ago, he identified almost 2,000 3-year-old children. None of these children have started their formal education as yet. Now, to these 2,000 children, he conducted something like a test to test their creativity skills. Where are they as regarding their creativity skills? So when I'm talking about creativity, basically what is creativity? That means no two people think alike. Creativity is something inherent. It's like a out of the box idea, So no two people think alike. So he conducted a test for all these 2,000 children, which is an age appropriate test. And what did he find? He found that almost 98% of these children are thinking differently. Now, after that, all these children entered the formal education system. So 5 years later, again he conducted another test, another age-appropriate test. And he found that now on the same set of 2,000 children, now he found that about 75% of them are thinking differently. Another 5 years later, on the same set of children, again he conducted another test, another age-appropriate test to test their creativity levels. And he found that only 50% are thinking differently. And by the time all these children finished high school, he conducted again another age-appropriate test. And can you guess the percentage what he found? He found that only 2% of the children are thinking differently. So where has the creativity gone? He is a proponent of his theory where he says school skill creativity. Children are coming with creativity. So children are ready. Are we ready? According to him, children are ready. Children inherently have these creativity skills, critical thinking skills, all of these they have already. But are we ready? We are the ones who are conditioning them into thinking the way the teacher thinks, the way whatever the board wants to say, that is what we are conditioning them to say, to think like that. And that conditioning has to break, is what he is saying. So now if we want to break that conditioning, how do we go about? What are the methods we need to use? Here again, all of us are again looking at Harvard, what is the experiments that they have done, what is the research they have done, what MIT has done. But we are overlooking our own country. More than 100 years ago, one of our educational philosophers, a very great philosopher, Sri Aurobindo Ghosh, he has given us 12 guiding principles on education. And the first guiding principle, what he says is, nothing can be taught, but everything can be learnt. I mean, if we look at a 3-month-old baby, can anybody teach the baby to roll over? Can anyone teach the baby to sit down, stand up, walk? But the baby is doing all those things. So who is teaching, who is learning? Is anybody teaching on education? As I mentioned, the first principle, he says, nothing can be taught, but everything can be learnt. It's a direct message to all us educators saying that don't be teachers, be facilitators. We need to move from being a teacher to a facilitator. If a 3-month-old baby is able to learn on her own, how is the baby learning? Because we have provided the required environment, which has provided the opportunity for the child to learn. Had I been carrying the child all the time, there was no way the child will learn how to roll over or sit down or stand up. But by providing a safe environment, there was an opportunity that the child got to learn further. And that is what is the role of the teachers, to just provide the environment and the opportunity for the teachers, for the children to learn by themselves. So inherently, children are always ready to learn. And the second point he says, the second guiding principle he says is that the mind must be involved in the learning process. Rote learning does not require the mind's involvement at all. All it requires is to remember the first 2 or 3 words, and then the whole paragraph can be recited. But if we want the children to come up with creativity, critical thinking, they need thinking skills, which need to be developed on a very big scale. And the third one he says is moving from familiar to unfamiliar, which we are all following also. So these are just the first 3 principles, which if you see the research done by Harvard and MIT, etc., they are also following these principles only. Every pedagogy that has come about, whether it is the problem-based or project-based or inquiry-based, inquiry cycle, everything is talking about these 3 principles only. And they are with us for the last 100 years, but we have very conveniently overlooked them. Now, coming to the classroom. Now, in the classroom, what are the problems that the teacher is facing? Now, if the teacher is facing, if they are not able to manage, what do? They start, unfortunately, labeling the child. But then, every time we want to point a finger at a child, we have to remember that there are 3 more pointing back at us. Are we looking at these 3 fingers? What is each of these fingers telling us? The first one is saying, is my teaching style matching the learning style of the child? Have I changed my teaching style to match the learning style of the child? Have I done that? Then the second one, am I ready to be standing as a 21st century teacher? Have I upgraded my skills and my knowledge to be standing there as a 21st century teacher? And the third one, most important one, is whatever I say or do will either make or break a child. That is the influence teachers and educators have on children. So if I look at these 3 fingers which are pointing back at me, I won't need to point this finger at any child anymore. I will not need this finger at all. It's happening like a classroom only, regular classroom. Okay? So now, what is the role of us leaders in this scenario? We are talking about a 21st century children, teachers moving to being 21st century upgraded teachers. So what is the role of leaders? You know, there is something called as a 5E approach for every leader. The first one is what is called as envision. You need to have a vision. Where do I see my school in the next 5 years, next 10 years? How do I see my school? What is the vision for my school in the next 5 or 10 years while I am there as a leader? You know, the most celebrated vision has been given by John F. Kennedy way back in 1961, where he said, in the next 10 years, we will send a man to the moon and bring him back safely. In 61, he said this. And what did they do in 1969? They sent Neil Armstrong and he came back safely to the earth. So a vision executed. So how is this happening? So once you have a vision for your school, where do I see my school in the next 5 to 10 years is what you need to ask yourself. And then how do you execute this vision? You need to engage your team. The next E is engage. How do I engage my team? No school or organization can be a one-man show. It is always a team effort. So who are the team? My coordinators, my HODs, my leadership team. And how do I engage them? Build trust. It is only with trust that a team can work coherently. Then comes the next one is enabling. Now I've got my team. How do I enable them to do or execute my vision? I prepare the ground for them, lay all the policies, structures, systems, procedures, everything in place such that they are able to execute my vision, execute the vision of the school or my vision, whatever it is. And then energize comes, this is the most important E out of all these 5 E's. Because I have laid the ground, I have identified my team. What is it that I have to do to energize the team? And this is where the leadership skills of the leader come to the fore. Here I have a very interesting example given by Abdul Kalam, where I'm sure many of you would have heard about it also, where he says that, in one of the, when he was the mission director, in one of the missions, he failed in his mission. And at that time, there was a huge press waiting outside and they were all angry, saying that how can you drown so many millions, where one of the rocket that they went came straight down and into the Bay of Bengal. He says, how can you, put so many millions of dollars into the Bay of Bengal? At that time, he says, his director, that is Dr. Satish Dhawan, he said, you wait, I will handle the press. And he handled the press and he said that give us 1 more year and we will definitely succeed next year. And the next year they did succeed, and at that time Dr. Satish Dhawan said to Dr. Abdul Kalam, you go and handle the press. That means failure, the leader took it upon himself, and success he gave to his team. He says, Dr. Abdul Kalam says, these are lessons we don't learn from any school, university or college. We only learn from leaders like that. When you interact with leaders like him, like Dr. Satish Dhawan or anybody like that, you learn these things from them. So this is where the leadership skills in us have to come out, and that will energize the team to execute our vision. And the final execute is just about 5%. 95% is all these four E's. If all these 4 E's are in place, the 5th one will happen automatically. Now, finally, just before I close, I want to talk about just one more thing. All of us here have reached this stage after putting in almost 20, 30, 40 years in of our lives into this education. But what is happening here, I would like to quote the example of Kodak cameras. How many of you have heard about Kodak cameras? Yes? Where are they today? Where are they today? Today, they are in, at one point of time, they were like, you hold the globe, close your eyes, turn it and put your finger, even if it is in the middle of the ocean, in that place, they were the #1 cameras. More than 75-year-old company with lakhs and lakhs of people working for them. Today, they are in a small cottage, in a small village in America, as a museum of all their cameras. A 75-year-old company got replaced by companies which are 2 years and 3 years old. How and why? Because this 75-plus-year-old company refused to accept the change and move with the changing times. They said, whatever I am doing all these 75 years is the best, I will continue. And today they got reduced, they got wiped out completely. So what is the lesson for us? It doesn't matter how many years I have put in. Unless I am ready to move with the times and change with the times, I will be the one who will be changed. So, the biggest lesson for us is, in spite of the number of years that we have put in, we need to move with the times, accept the change, and move, otherwise we will be the ones who will be changed. So finally, I would like to once again congratulate all winners and thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be in front of all of you and share my learnings with all of you. Thank you so much.